Our brains, our meat bodies, are full of outside inspiration. From the arts to political opinions, we are shaped by what we have seen, what we have heard, and how outside inspiration influences how we digest what we have seen and what we have heard. Is it even possible to pursue a creative endeavor without the influence of other people's creative endeavors that you've experienced influencing yours? I don't think so. Even on a subconscious level, inspiration and influence makes their way in. And George Lucas is no exception. The Flash Gordon serials of the 1930s capture the swashbuckling spirit and sense of adventure found in the original Star Wars. George Lucas actually attempted to obtain the rights to Flash Gordon in order to make his own Flash Gordon film. He wasn't able to secure those rights, so he made his own space epic. Some of the visuals in Star Wars are obviously inspired by Flash Gordon. For example, screen wipes. When editing two scenes together, Flash Gordon primarily used screen wipes. Lucas adopted this technique at a time when screen wipes were considered to be old-fashioned. Another example that is well known is the opening crawl, the foreword, as it was known to Flash Gordon viewers and Buck Rogers viewers. Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers both had an opening crawl. A wall of scrolling text started the adventure, describing the state of things, the heroes and the villains, the events that happened just before the cameras rolled. Important words were bold and capped. Flash Gordon's opening crawl even ended with 4 dots. There was an emperor, there was an empire. The music is orchestral, as it often was around that time period in film. And despite much of the music in Flash Gordon being recycled music from other productions, it's very reminiscent of the music found in Star Wars. There are countless examples of influence by the old science fiction serials of the 1930s peppered throughout Star Wars. If you watch one of these episodes, it's apparent from the jump. One can imagine a young George Lucas in Modesto, California, sitting by the TV, watching reruns of Flash Gordon or Buck Rogers. But it goes deeper than that. Quote, I remember the one thing that really struck me about The Hidden Fortress. The one thing that I was really intrigued by was the fact that the story was told from the 2 lowest characters. I decided that would be a nice way to tell the Star Wars story. Take the 2 lowliest characters, as Kurosawa did, and tell the story from their point of view, which in the Star Wars case is the 2 droids, and that was the strongest influence. Close quote. George Lucas, 2001, The Hidden Fortress Criterion Collection DVD. The Hidden Fortress, directed by Akira Kurosawa, was released in 1958 in Japan. The 2 lowliest characters, as George Lucas put it, 2 Japanese peasants. They argue, they bicker, they disagree. It's comedic. And ultimately, these 2 characters decide to split up, only to be captured separately and reunited. Much of the story, as is the case with R2-D2 and C-3PO, is told through their eyes. A princess being hunted by an empire, a samurai general who wants to save the princess, the decimation of the princess's people. The general outsmarts enemies. The general battles an old friend who ultimately redeems himself by helping the general. So many story beats, so many parallel filming techniques, movement, lenses, imitating the kinetic energy found in certain sequences in The Hidden Fortress. Outside of the obvious face value Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers comparisons, Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress might be the biggest inspiration for what we ultimately know as Star Wars. Westerns like The Searchers, directed by John Ford, serve as inspiration for Star Wars as well. A burned-down homestead, a naive farm boy turned hero, to speak nothing of the visuals. 1938's The Adventures of Robin Hood served to inspire the lightsaber duels, and its score, composed by Erich Wolfgang Korngold, heavily inspired John Williams' compositions. In fact, one of Korngold's scores was used as a temporary track while Star Wars was being edited together. Rick Blaine in Casablanca, and Han Solo in Star Wars. Both cynical, both use the word kid. One can even see the inspiration for the cantina sequence in Casablanca 2, Metropolis's robot, and Ralph McQuarrie's C-3PO. The examples are plenty. The parallels are endless. And that's the thing. Parallels are unavoidable. If a director sets up a shot, that shot can be endlessly compared to other shots from the past. If a writer creates a story beat, that story beat has no doubt been pursued by the writer's predecessors. Being inspired by what you've read or seen or heard, even on a subconscious level, is unavoidable, and it shouldn't be avoided. In terms of film, techniques have been taken from others and applied to newer films. Technology, locations, technique, it's an art form that builds on itself. Generationally, the masters of today admired the masters of the past, and the masters of tomorrow admire the masters of today.